Welcome to Multifamily Revealed, a special podcast mini-series where we take you inside the journey of acquiring Emerald Point, a 76-unit multifamily property. I'm Anita Wong, real estate investor, syndicator, and your co-host.
And I'm Edison Miguel from Blue Ember Partners, and your co-pilot for the series. We're here to pull back the curtains on what it really takes to close a multifamily deal like this.
So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome back to the SARE Ladies podcast. I'm Anita Wong, your co-host. If you are just tuning in, we recently wrapped up our first ever 5-episode mini-series where we broke down my acquisition of Emerald Point, a 76-unit apartment complex in Irving, Texas. Now, as a bonus episode, we're bringing you a special live recording of our first 90 days post-acquisition where we dive into the realities, surprises, and lessons learned along the way. This lesson was recorded live at Linfinity Fest 2025 in January, so you may hear some background noise and some discrepancies. Joining me in this presentation is my husband, William Liu of Give Rise Capital, and my co-GP, Sirong Chen of Velvet Multifamily. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Emerald Point today, and full disclosure that this is just for education purposes. This is not investment advice. So here we go. So this is Emerald Point. This is our 76-unit development that we purchased September 30th of last year. So it's fresh off the market. It was a C-Class, 1965. And those of you who went to SARE, who came to our raise presentation? All right, cool, awesome. So a few of you have. So I just want to give some updates because those numbers have changed. So originally our purchase price was 8.56. Now it's at 8.51. So that means our price per unit is actually just about 112,000. Cap which lands is at a cap rate of 6.3. Our loan details, we set up our loan with Gold Capital. We have a Freddie Mac 10-year SBL fixed. 6.2% rate locked interest rate, interest only period of 3 years. And now that we know where the market is, we were really actually at the bottom of the trough. So we were kind of heading downwards. We didn't catch it exactly at the bottom, but we still want to be moving towards the bottom. So actually this is a pretty solid interest rate compared to sort of where the market really is now. I'm gonna just introduce really quick our GPT because this is actually a deal where it's entirely Linfinity team. And I want to first introduce my husband, William. Thank you. Sirong Chen of Velvet Multifamily. Can you get the Blue Ember team stand up real quick? Edison, Daniel, Joseph. So just take a look. If you have any questions today, I want you just to go up to any one of us and ask them about this deal because this is entirely Linfinity deal. We're gonna just play our video real quick. This is a video that we made for our raise, just to give a sense of what we're looking at. Hello and welcome to Emerald Point, our latest acquisition in Irving, one of the fastest growing cities in Texas. Emerald Point is a 76-unit Class C property located between two major corridors. This allows easy access to the Dallas and Fort Worth metro area through Highway 183, Loop 12, and the Georgia Bush Turnpike. In addition to the convenient freeway access, Emerald Point is just a quick 10-minute drive to Dallas-Fort Worth International, which is running a $4.8 billion expansion plan. This will create 25,000 new jobs in the area. Additionally, the city of Irving is making major investments to our area by opening up a new park across the street, set for completion this fall. Emerald Point itself has a unique building layout, boasting a wide and unobstructed central courtyard. This design actually has an inbuilt system of security, allowing the property to have little to no incidents of criminal activity on the property, thus attracting mainly working-class families to stay here. The property has a historically strong, stable tenant base with consistently over 95% occupancy. The property is efficiently run by its current property manager, who has been running Emerald Point for over 5 years. We will retain her, thus keeping the history and community value of the property. Our team has secured Emerald Point at 20% off its peak price due to taking advantage of a distressed seller situation. Lower now. We also have secured 75% leverage on the property compared to the typical leverage of 60 to 65%. Our management team has a proven track record in running properties of this size and class, with one local property just located 5 minutes away from Emerald Point. This gives us opportunities for cost savings with shared resources and economies of scale. Thank you for considering Emerald Point. Together we can give rise to great success. Yeah. I just wanted to make use of that because I paid good money for that video.
Really did.
Okay, so today is going to be a short presentation, so we're not going to be taking any questions. So I want you to scan that QR code if you do, and my team members will get back to you if you do have any questions. We'll also send you a copy of the presentation, so you don't really have to take notes. And we can also send you our newsletter, our future deals. You can sign up on that form. And also, as we said, I think Ashley said earlier, the way that we learned was actually going to Dallas and touring properties with Tony. And so now that we have our own deal, we want to pay it forward. So we want to invite every single one of you for every single time that we go to Dallas. We want to invite you guys to come see Emerald Point, how we do the deal, for the neighborhoods. And so we have a sign-up list on that link. It is the best way to get started in multifamily. And also our new podcast mini-series. So actually we're coming out with a 5-episode podcast on the acquisition of Emerald Point. I think when we look at real estate, I feel like we don't really see as many case studies. So we've offered Emerald Point out, the details of that acquisition, and we're going to be releasing it with basically our partners. We have Old Capital on there, we have Marcus and Joe Chat on there too, to talk about the acquisition. Because today we're not going to talk about that, we're going to talk about the actual running it. So you can sign up early and then we'll send you that podcast if you want to hear about how the acquisition went. Okay, so what we're covering today is really 4 topics, right? So CapEx, which is the renovations and lender required repairs. We're talking about staffing, which is about building the team, the tenant relations, and then also just the operations of how we're running internally. This is kind of a timeline review of the last 3 months that we closed on September 30th, and here are the sort of things that we really had to tackle in the first 90 days, right? So heavy on the CapEx. We really just went in there and then just started getting a lot of things done. And we'll talk about it a little bit, but basically when you're acquiring the property, you have a to-do list already set. So it was just part of the loan. Then we have to deal with staffing. Obviously, we have new members, we need to onboard them, and then we're slowly kind of weaning them off, and then just depending on we already have Centra, which is actually an advantage of working with Tony's. We have the advantage of having another property just maybe 5 or 10 minutes away. So we actually already had the property management, all of these resources already set up. However, it still took some time to onboard it, get everyone familiar. And then the tenancy, which is kind of sporadic here and there, but delinquencies, we're going to talk about that. And then operations, so internal systems, we have a big GP team, so we have to reorganize everything, right? And so here are some of the dates, at the end of the year, we had to deal with our PR90s. These are lender required repairs, which we definitely had to deal with. We had multiple leaks on here. I didn't include the one during escrow. And the weather is tough. It's tough as nails in Dallas. So we had to deal with that. It's just the nature of a C-class. And a couple of other things. Okay, I'm going to talk about CapEx, which is, again, the to-do list when you're acquired and your lender basically gives you a list of things that you need to do. These are mostly safety requirements. These are things that you should update. And they give you, it's categorized into 2 categories, right? PR90 repairs gotta get done in 90 days. Priority repairs, you have 1 year. And then so what lenders do, they impound money. They impound $108,000 in order to make sure that you do your work. They don't release it back to you until you have not just done the work, you show the receipt and then you process the payment. So they want to know that you put everything in, zipped everything up, right? Because there probably has been a lot of cases where they just say, I'm getting a quote, and then they don't actually do the repair. So lenders are very, very adamant on making sure that this is right. And so these are some photos. This was leak number 2, I think, of 3. This was a fascinating story. This was, so we found a plumber, our manager texted us that the plumber came by, there's a leak in the middle of the courtyard. He's like, I think people are driving through the property. Now, if you look at the building, it's entirely closed off. It's like a giant courtyard in the middle. And he was just like, that's just what the residents say. And then, lo and behold, we actually find out that that's actually true. And you know how we found out?
Google Maps.
Oh, sorry, I don't know how to use this thing. Okay, this is the Google Map photo of our building, right? The leak is literally right here. We're like, oh, we don't know because our manager has never seen it. And so actually little tire marks that actually come from the parking lot all the way through the middle. You can see it right there. So we found out that was true from an aerial photo. And apparently the tenants were waiting for the managers to go home and driving through the property and breaking the pipes underneath. So that's what we found out. A couple of other things that we repaired, and these, we installed new gutters. These don't look like very eventful photos, but there's new gutters. There's new fascia repairs, smoke alarms that went throughout. We installed this concrete pad before here. The trash bin was over here. It's actually a big giant hole, so the lender really wanted to get us done. And then we had this stairway, which is literally just eaten away one side by termites, and so you're kind of slanted this way. We had to close that off and make those repairs. So that's really one of our major undertaking for the first 90 days. I'm going to pass it to Sirong to talk about team.
Thanks, Anita. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about building the team at Emerald Point. So Emerald Point is a 76-unit apartment building. So with this size, we are able to have one office manager and one maintenance technician. And we also work with Central Property Management Company, and that company manages all the Linfinity multifamily portfolio in Dallas. So with a very good starting point, we faced drama day one. The day we acquired this property, and both the manager and the technician guy come to us and ask for a 14% pay increase. And they say it's the seller who already made this promise to them for the pay increase, and they also got offer from another property, and they are ready to leave if the request is not met. So what should we do? We don't feel very comfortable at the beginning, and we also internally discussed. We knew they were very good, and we also knew their pay is already at the market rate. So should we keep them, or should we actually fire them and find someone else to manage the property? But end of the day, we decided that we are not just saying we would not like to give them what they want. It's that they should show us they're worth the money that we pay to them. So we didn't give in immediately. We have our property, we have our regional to talk to them, to let them know our performance-based promotional plan, and then say if they meet our expectation, and of course we can reward them later. And luckily for us and for them, they both stay. So we also take actions to support them, not just the words. So one thing we have done is we fixed the AC and internet in the management office, and we also enable petty cash so the manager can make quick decision on small repairs. we held a Christmas party, and we also bring in another maintenance guy to help support the repair request, to share some workload there. And end of the story, they got their promotion after 3 months. So the key takeaway here is that when you try to build a new team, it's just like you acquire a new company or jumping into a new team at a corporate. So you inherit not just the good, but also the pain. You really want to listen to your team member, understand what they really want in their heart, and create career path for them to grow. And then eventually you earn trust.
Let's go back. Yep, that one.
Okay. Next session I'm going to talk about is the tenant tango. So Emerald Point is a unique Class C building in Linfinity portfolio. It's home to mainly the working class tenants. The benefits of that is that the tenants are kind, they're resilient, they are family oriented, they respect us. And we were very surprised to find that there were 10 non-working stoves and 12 non-working AC in the units. And the tenants really put up with all these issues. They don't complain. And all the tenants, most all of the tenants are come from mouth-to-mouth referrals. They feel like this is the home, they know each other and support each other. That's one of the major reasons they want to stay here. And being said that, we still face many challenges there. So one of the biggest challenges is managing the delinquency. Delinquency and eviction are pretty common in Class C buildings. And one of the first action we took is to identify and remove tenants with large amount of unpaid rent. And we identified 3 of them. We can put them on eviction, but we also know that if we put them on eviction, it's hard for them to secure the next place to live, so it's not going to help them. And for us as well, it will cost us time and money to find the attorney and go to the court, etc. So we do talk to them to let them know the situation, also understand their situation, and create a plan. So all of them, eventually, they move out on their own accord. So we are very proud that today we have low delinquency rate and we are technically a 0 eviction property. The other challenge we face these days is the political environment change. With a new president and new policies released, many tenants are thinking about moving away from this area, and we need to work diligently, also creatively, to figure out how to deal with this. Okay, key takeaway from this section. We do want to focus on building goodwill and keep what we are doing and keep the tenants happy. We also want to stay firm and clear while enforcing our rules. And last, we want to create a community that everyone can succeed and also feel safe and feel like this is the home to them. Passing this to Will.
Okay. Just FYI, we are recording a podcast episode right now, so can you help me with this? All right, so one thing that I'll kind of add a little bit to what Sirong mentioned about that tenant with $10,000 in bad debt. We actually learned that it was because the seller actually did not want to evict her, and she had like a sob story, and it's an unfortunate situation, but she just wasn't able to pay her bills. And then the seller had basically mentioned to the property manager, hey, continue to let her stay. And I think one lesson that we learned from Tony is that this is a business. It's not personal. We want to make sure that we're treating our tenants and our residents well, but also it is a contract. Like they also need to pay their rent too, right? So we have to kind of make sure we're balancing both of those aspects. Next slide. Yeah, so I'll kind of be talking about tracking progress and action on the property. And I think this is a key component of kind of asset management. And so for perspective, our GP team is about 9 people. So we got myself, Anita, Sirong, we got Edison, we got Joseph, we got Daniel, Tony, and then Lynchy and Jack down in Dallas. So we have that, we have our property manager, we have our regional, we have our tenants, we have all of our functional leads at Centra, our property management company, and then of course we have our investors, which we have some here as well. So it's a lot of different stakeholders that we have to kind of be able to communicate with. So, so the way that we're kind of organized everything is really kind of similar to what you would see in a normal W-2 job, right? So we're using Slack, we kind of have Zoom meetings, we have newsletters, we're using social media, we're using all these different mediums so that we have a cohesive communications system. And I think Ashley mentioned it earlier, it's building a scalable system that you can kind of depend on, so that way you can be proactive and not just reactive. So, so that's kind of the first part of it. Next slide. And so for us also, because we're primarily managing this out of state, we want to kind of maintain operational visibility. And Tony mentioned something a little bit earlier. When we first started kind of going into resident, it's a lot of information in there, but he also kind of mentioned this is kind of our main visibility into how the property is going, whether it's work orders, whether vendors are getting paid, where we are with delinquency, how many units are available within the property. And for me, it was super overwhelming. Like, we actually had to sit down with Tony, he had to kind of go through it. And so for my experience, it was really making sure that you're kind of just going through it one step at a time. Going in there, building those practices, going into the reports, just becoming more comfortable with that. And I think that kind of helps really to identify like trends, different issues that might be coming up, action items, like different things that we ended up figuring out was, hey, why are the office manager and the maintenance lead still using these vendors as opposed to these cheaper and more reliable vendors that we're using on our sister property, right? So why are they paying market value for this refrigerator? I think for one of the make-readies, they ended up spending about $800, $900 for a refrigerator. And so I was like, we can go to Costco, like, and probably get a better deal, right? So, and if you know anything about Tony, he definitely loves his price shopping. So, and so I think it's kind of like this formula of making sure that there's proper communications within a GP team that's kind of spread out, but also making sure that you have that visibility so that you're well informed on how the property is performing. Next slide. So this is kind of a next 90-day outlook in terms of kind of what's going on. As Sirong kind of mentioned, dealing with some of the new administration changes and how that's impacting our tenant base. Going through our first unit renovation, working through some of these foundation repairs that the lender is requiring, getting all of our tax forms due. So I know that's something that I care about. That's something that I know is also very important to our investors as well too. So, so it's making sure that we have a plan in place. And so, next slide. So really kind of the key takeaways, right? Communication with all stakeholders is key. So I always prefer to over-communicate rather than someone having to ask me that question. Second, really making sure that you're reviewing your financials regularly because it does provide visibility. Proactively plan and build out some type of structure that you can kind of iterate from. And again, treating the property like a business by putting systems in place. And so Anita and I really love James Clear's Atomic Habits book. If you haven't read it before, highly recommend it, but he has this really great quote, which is, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Thank you, awesome. Okay, well, I think what I was reflecting on, what is really the takeaway for, now that I've been in this space for about 90 days, having a multifamily syndication is really scary, it's really terrifying, but that's kind of the thing about real estate. Is that if you want to dive into something unknown, you're just going to have to get in there. And if you're not fucking it up, you're not doing it right. So, the thing about Linfinity, that what it provides for you is really the community. Because in this room, these are my lenders, these are the platforms that I use, my CPAs here. It is all packaged
with a bow here, and even my thought partners are here, right? And I think that's something I picked up from Ian, because I really respect that. It's not just about doing the deal, about having the partners, but about just having other people reflect with you about how to do your practices better. And these are your investors. These are people that their 401ks, their livelihoods. So you need to always constantly be looking out for that. And so I really like this quote: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And another thing that I really had to take away is that, I learned this from Adrian Farhada from Cashflow Portal, actually some SARE cons ago. He's like, a lot of you are looking for the markets. And, that's kind of actually to me now that I've been in this for a few years now, that it's really not the easiest way to get a syndication deal. The way to get a syndication deal is you follow the operator, all right? Once you find a good operator, the markets will find you, right? Because if you are following a good operator, they already know all about the markets. They already have all the systems in place. And so the greatest part about Linfinity and about Tony is that, it's all about a higher purpose too. It's about lifting other people up. This deal, I'm lead GP, which is pretty rare for a first deal to kind of get into as a lead GP. That would have not been possible without Tony, Paul kind of lifting that up in place. So I appreciate you, Tony. And so another quote is sort of, great operators don't just execute on deals, they build bridges that bring others along with them, right? So this deal is all Linfinity because he's built the ethos of the kind of investor I want to be. I want to be forthright. I want to be a little cheap. I kind of want to be that too. I'm Asian. I kind of get along that. But you're honest. You're there to bring others with you, and you're there to teach people and to lift other people up. And when I met Tony, that was something I could sign up for that I don't think that I really saw in other mentorship groups. And then, success is not about just achieving your own goals. It's about using your growth to uplift others. True legacy lies in giving rise to others that come after you. So, that's something, I really believe in. Something I also believe in SARE Ladies, and also with Linfinity, is that, we're just like maybe one step, beyond where you are. So, but we're taking others with us. So sign up for our field trips. That's how we learned. And so we want to invite you because Tony believes in transparency. He gives you the down and dirty of all these deals, and we want to kind of do that too. So thank you very much.